Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live Japanese tea sessions. Today is our fourth time to hold this event, and we are very excited because today we have a very special guest. Jolliffe is joining us from Canada. So let's welcome Lee in. Hello, Lee.
Oh, good morning, Simona.
Good morning. That's true. We are almost 12 hours apart. Yeah. How are you doing?
Oh, good. I'm really excited to be on this chat with you to talk about my passion for tea tourism, right?
And I'm really grateful that you accepted the invitation. I remember we already talked weeks or even months ago, but finally we have the chance. And I'm really excited because the topic that you specialize in, of course, tea, but also more into tourism and hospitality and how these two connect and converge, I think is very, very interesting. And a lot of insights, I think, for tea people to learn. So really excited to delve into that. But just in case there are people who are joining and who haven't met you yet, maybe you could just say a few words of who you are and what you are doing these days.
Oh, sure. Thank you. And I see that Julie has just joined us. Hi,
Yes.
Julie.
Hi, Julie.
I'm a Simona. I'm a retired hospitality and tourism professor. I did that for about the last 20 years. And during my studies there, because I had a background in museum studies,
Mm-hmm.
I became interested in tea and in the heritage and how we could connect that up with
Okay.
tourism.
Okay. So then, professionally, the interest started from museum studies. And how did tea appear in the picture, if you remember?
Well, actually, oh yes, I certainly remember. Actually, when I did my PhD in the UK, in Leicester, in the centre, in the Midlands, I discovered afternoon tea. So
Okay.
I really love that tradition. So then later I became an innkeeper in Prince Edward Island, and we restored a heritage hotel, and I actually made a tea shop there. It was
Okay.
called Mrs. Prophet's Tea Shop. So I have some practical background to my interest as well.
So people could come, stay, and enjoy tea along their stay, or
Yes, yes, we had our own line of tea. So we bought tea from a broker and learned how to blend it, and we sold gifts, and people could come for to experience the tea.
okay. I'm just looking at the comments. So we see Suzanne saying hello, and Julie was saying she's not hearing. I wonder. Let's try to check it out. I'll message everyone and ask.
Oh, right, no sound.
So I'm just sending a message to everyone, and let's see where the sound is.
Oh, one person says they can hear.
Oh, hello. Has can everyone hear us? Julie, can you hear us? If you can, could everyone please say hello to us? Okay, so we are getting a couple of messages.
Oh, but
Just
Simona, I can hear you less now. Your
oh, um,
maybe your volume.
yeah, I tried to adjust the microphone, but Susan says it's all right, and Karen says it's all right. So there might be some settings for Julie. I hope it will work, but I guess for now we can continue forward. So yes, so hello everyone. We see also Luis coming in and Katsia, Chiran. Hello everyone. So, actually, before then we continue our conversation with Lee, I also wanted to mention that if you have any questions for us or if you have any comments, please just type them in and we will be more than glad to answer them and to steer the conversation away. Or yeah, to go side and come back again. So yeah. So all right. So Lee, you were telling us that you had that you were managing a hotel and had a tea shop. And could you tell us a little bit then how the tea intervened with tourism? Because what we know is from your more recent career that your focus is more on hospitality and tourism. So how did this transition happen and how did the two converge?
Okay, yes. Now, Simona, while I'm talking, if you can check your sound because I can hear you less clearly.
Okay, I'll try that.
So, but yes, I'll go ahead. Um,
Sure.
what what happened? How the two interests came together was when I went for the interview in St. John, New Brunswick, to become a hospitality and tourism professor. I
Mm-hmm.
knew I was going back into academia, and they asked me what I would like to research. And I knew that the city had a tea history. If anybody's
Okay.
ever seen the Red Rose tea bag anywhere, that blend originated in our city. So when they asked me in the interview, I said I would like to research tea tourism.
Wow. Okay.
And actually, at the time, my three children thought it was a laugh. They thought it was very crazy, but I've since proved them wrong that it is actually a thing. So that was
Yeah.
how it came together. Yeah.
And when was that? Would you tell us how long ago? Because that sounds like a pioneer work to bring tea and tourism together.
Well, I started my job in 2000, and
Mm-hmm.
I first published on tea and tourism a book chapter in 2003.
Wow.
So
Okay. So
it's 17 years now. But I do also I'm really a heritage tourism researcher, so I have also published on other topics, automobile heritage and tourism, mining heritage and tourism, but it's always on the heritage. But tea is the one I'm most passionate about, right?
yes, I can totally understand and feel it as well. Um, and yes, you now mentioned that you have also published on tea, and I know you have published a book, and recently there has been also a new chapter in another book, isn't it? More focused on Japan. So when did tea tourism in Japan appear in your interest spectrum?
Well, actually, about 5 years ago, my son got married in Japan.
Oh,
He lives
wow.
in Osaka. He has a Japanese wife. So
Nice.
that gave me more, visiting them gave me more of the opportunity to try to discover tea tourism in Japan. I had
Mhm.
previously been to tea farms and gardens in China, Thailand, Taiwan. Um, yeah,
Wow.
so that was part of the stimulus. The other thing was that Mo Nakashima, who's
Mm-hmm.
now the internship coordinator at Obubu Tea. A lot of listeners will know about Obubu.
I think there are
Um,
a lot of fans.
yes, yes. About 3 years ago, Mo came to Canada specifically for a study term to study tea tourism with me.
Right.
And then we decided that we would pair up and write a book chapter
Mm-hmm.
about it's really much of it is about Wazuka. It's about Japanese tea villages and tourism. And actually, the book was Responsible Tourism in Asia. The book
Mm-hmm.
was just published yesterday.
Oh,
And
only.
yes, yes. And
So fresh.
there's going to be a webinar about the book. I'll send you the details you could send out
Awesome. And please,
on
do you know already the date so we can share with everyone? I'm sure there will
yes,
be many. people interested.
Yes, it will be World Tourism Day on September 26th.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, we definitely have to tune in and see how it goes. Hopefully, the timing is good for Japan. Usually, we sometimes we get left behind or have to wake up early at night. But that's very exciting.
Mm.
Mm. And I also saw you have an earlier book that you edited. Was that right? That was published in 2007. That was also about tea and tourism. So I'm just double checking the title: Tea and Tourism, Tourists, Traditions and Transformations. So that was
Yeah.
already um, over 10 years ago, 13 years ago. Could you tell us a bit more about that book, how it came to be, and what inspired the idea?
That's right, Simona. So the book was my idea to put together the existing knowledge on tea tourism. And at that point, a lot of people had not written on the topic, but I did manage to get quite a few authors. I also had to write quite a few chapters myself. But the book is, I mean, it's probably still worth a read, but the book is now a little bit outdated, right? Because in terms of the contemporary tea tourism scene, because things have developed. So I'm actually now working with a team, an
Okay.
international, four other professors, and we're working towards a handbook of tea tourism, which would have, we're at the proposal stage. So anybody who's interested in writing for this should contact me. It will have
Is
about
anyone
40,
interested
yeah,
among the
yeah,
listeners?
yeah. It will have about 40 chapters, but we're going to gather together all of the knowledge about tea tourism, and we already have identified 80 categories of topics.
Wow,
So we
about tea
even need
tourism.
to, yes, we even need to pare that down.
So sounds like it goes very much in detail, in depth.
Well, yes, we're going to look at innovations and we're going to
Mhm.
look at governance and policy and what happens in a crisis kind of situation like we're now in the pandemic times. We're
Yes,
also going to look at how tea tourism could be used to improve livelihoods, right? In tea producing
yes,
situations. So,
yes. I guess not a lot of tea producers realize that there are other ways to supplement their living than making tea alone. So that's very interesting and exciting topic, I think, as well. And then you mentioned that in between the earlier book published in 2007 and now, there have been some changes, and some things maybe feel a little bit outdated. So could you share with everyone what would be the bigger changes that happened? What is happening now with tea and tourism, and comparing it to the days back then?
well, I think now there's more interest. Um, I mean, due to globalization, people in different countries are exposed to more types of teas. Probably the specialty tea market has further developed,
Hmm.
um, and people are more connected. You
Yes.
know, and this has been one of the advantages of the pandemic, right? It's moved the technological connections
Yes, it's
forward.
pushing us. Pushing
Yeah,
us to find new ways, like we are doing today as well.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, right. So, of course, the specialty tea has been growing. I think we can notice that related to Japanese tea, but I'm sure throughout the world as well. Um, and you mentioned also that you have traveled to other tea producing countries, other regions. I wonder what is your observation about Japan in terms of tea and tourism?
Well, I think to date, tea tourism has been less accessible in Japan. So if we define tea tourism as experiences that people have related to tea while they travel or could be in their consuming countries.
Mhm.
In Japan, for example, I had one experience about 5 years ago where I spent a day with a tea farmer in Shizuoka.
Okay.
But I had to book and pay for two people in order to go, right? Because
Okay.
the minimum was two people, right?
Oh, so you just had to tell us, we would have joined you.
Yes, but I didn't know you at that point.
Okay.
But actually, and on that trip, I also went to the very large tea museum there,
Yes, it has
which
been
was wonderful.
recently renovated, I think about a year or so ago. I don't know if
Okay,
that's the
yeah,
time you
yeah,
went to.
yeah.
Yeah.
So as a Western traveler, I had to figure out how I would do the logistics. So I actually found a city with I stayed in a small kind of hotel near a train station because it was halfway between where I would go to spend the day with the tea farmer on the train and where the tea museum was. But I think since then, even in the last 5 years, with the programs that Obubu was doing,
Hmm.
I actually did the 1 day tour with Obubu in a few years ago, maybe 2018, 2017 or 18.
Right.
And now with the wonderful Japanese tea master course,
Oh,
Simona, that I took with you and your group last fall in Wazuka, I
can't
learned
believe
so
it.
much
Just
more because, yes,
just a
yes,
year ago, isn't it? It was September. So
right, right. And this is the tea I'm drinking is the tea that I actually purchased from directly from the farmer.
so I have to
Um,
also show this on the screen because it's the same farmer. We are by chance sharing the tea from the same farmer, Kenta-san and Wazuka. Yeah, so I'm really glad you still have some and saved some from a while back.
yeah, no, it's wonderful. It's one of the best green teas that I've ever had, and that's one of the wonderful things about traveling and tea tourism is that you can get your tea from the source,
Yeah.
and it really tastes different. Whereas now in the pandemic, for the first time in my life, I've had to order tea from a company in Canada. But
Oh,
Camellia sinensis, a lot of you listening will know Kevin Gascon, but they have a wonderful, wonderful tea. And even when you order it, it tells you, you know, what farm it came from and where it's harvested. So,
that's great. That's not always easy to find out and to know. And I definitely want to go a bit more to talk about more about tea in Canada. I'm sure you
okay.
have a lot more to share as well. But now I'm reading through the comments. We have quite a lot. A few people joined us and said hello. So that was Anna and Gundega. And we also had a comment or a question from Justin, who was asking about how about using tea in beer. So, what do you think about that, Lee?
Oh no, I think definitely, definitely, Justin. Now Phil Holman at the World Tea House in Halifax, in Nova Scotia, in Canada. Phil has been working with local brewers, so they are producing beer that has tea in the process. But the other thing that Phil has done is he's gotten the so a few of you will know about Rajiv Lokan in India, right? Just below Darjeeling in his Dope Tea Farm.
The famous person.
Phil has gotten and you maybe know of Rajiv. Phil has gotten the dope tea and he has infused it in port barrels. So he's put
Oh,
the tea in port, barrels that
yeah.
in
Oh, that's
Halifax.
mm-hmm.
And so, yes, no, definitely. the other thing would be tea cocktails, right?
Right. Yes, that
Uh,
actually we had, I think about 2 months ago, we had with us Suzanne, who was also demonstrating
right.
how to make a cocktail. I think that's also a quite a new and exciting area for how to use tea as an ingredient in cocktails or in cooking, how to pair tea with food and desserts and so on. So I think once you open that door, there is no end to explore.
Well,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. But generally, tea in Canada, traditionally Canadians have been black tea drinkers
All right. I
because
think
of
that's
our
usual story.
yeah, because of our colonial history. And myself, when I get up in the morning, I usually drink black tea, but now I drink chai because I actually spent a few weeks with Dan Robertson on his Darjeeling tea tour a few years ago. So I
Nice.
got to appreciate the chai. But I think the specialty market in Canada is developing. And in February, I went to the Toronto Tea Festival.
Oh, how
So
was
there
that?
were in Toronto, and Simona, your picture is just frozen a bit.
Oh,
Oh, it's
sometimes
okay now.
might be the connection. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we are
Oh
having.
my goodness. Suzanne says she loves an ice cold matcha beer. That sounds good, Suzanne. But the Toronto Tea Festival had, oh, I don't know, maybe 50 vendors. So, for example, I was able to meet a vendor who's selling the tea from Hadong in South Korea, right?
Wow.
And I wanted to try to taste that because I'm actually Simone. I forgot to mention earlier, but I'm chairing a working group on international tea tourism.
Right.
So I'm working with a lot of the Asian tea organizations and
Mm-hmm.
experts, and we are looking at doing things beyond the handbook. So there are going to be a couple of big World Tea Expos we'll be involved in. There will be one in Thailand in July of 2021, and there will be one in South Korea in May of 2022.
Okay.
But going back to Canada, maybe does anybody want to ask any questions about Canada? I
We
mean, I mean,
have a few
where
Canadians, I
I
think.
live, yeah,
Yeah.
about tea in Canada.
Sure. While we wait for some comments, we actually, oh, Justin is leaving, so thank you for joining us. Justin, see you another time. And we have a longer comment from Gundega, so I'm going to show it on the screen. We can read it and maybe Lee could comment as well. So that it is interesting to observe how things are developing. Also, Gundega says she has experienced some virtual tea tours in tea gardens. So that's probably also a new development, a new side of the tea tourism, bringing it online and holding it virtually. And I wonder what you think about that. Whether that's a way for tea to go, or it's a temporary measure for now while we cannot travel anywhere.
Oh, I don't think it's just a temporary measure, but I think it will help to, if we think of tea tourism as a niche of tourism, a very small niche, I think it will help to motivate people to travel in post-pandemic times, right?
Right.
Because we
To
know that
change.
tourism, yeah, yeah, yeah. We haven't talked too much about the pandemic, but we know that tourism will always comes back. Tourism will come back, but it will be different, right? The way of travel will certainly be different. Maybe not as many people will be traveling, but I think the virtual tours are a wonderful development.
It still allows to see the farms and to learn about tea and and still to get to know the region, the area. Um, so I think it's a good idea, and of course, not everyone all the time will be able to travel. So there will be people who prefer maybe a shorter experience that they can have from their own home as well. Um,
Well, and some of these virtual things may also stimulate domestic tourism
okay.
because in the recovery of tourism, domestic tourism will be the first stage. I mean, some of us have already seen that in our countries where,
Well,
with the idea of staycations and, traveling to a neighboring city. And now we have so many other countries trying to go grow tea, right? We have so many
yes.
different small tea plantations in different countries. So
So now interesting that you mentioned it because Senia was asking if there are any tea farms in Canada. Have you heard? Have you seen any?
oh yes, on Vancouver Island, where is the only place I'm aware of where the climate is milder. They're trying to grow tea, and actually in North Carolina, because where I live in Canada is in St. John, New Brunswick, is about an hour and a half north of the U.S. border. So in South Carolina, there's a Bigelow, very old tea garden, but also in Mississippi, they're actively developing tea. But I think generally in Canada we have too cold a climate, right?
Right.
In
We need greenhouse or something like that.
many places, and I don't know. Maybe somebody else who's listening knows of something else happening, but that's all I'm aware of.
If anyone knows, just please also share. We are all the tea lovers here and we love to travel and to see new things, so definitely. And we have a few comments from Katsia. So he was just mentioning about other places that also do online activities. For example, the Salon de Oasis by Han Lee. Actually, Han is also a member of our association, so we hope we can create and hold more activities with him as well. And one more comment was about the live tea garden and factory tours by
Instagram.
Yabuzakia and Osada Tea. So if anyone has a chance to join any of these activities, I think it's a great way to get to know a little bit more about Japanese tea directly from the people who are working with it. Thank you so much, Katya, for sharing. And one more question from Karen. So, what is tea tourism in Canada?
Well, tea tourism in Canada has more to do with the consumption of tea and with the traditions, such as the British afternoon tea. So we have one city in Canada, that Victoria, British Columbia, that is very British. So, for example, the Empress, when I did the research for the tea and tourism book in 2010, the Empress Hotel in Victoria served more afternoon teas than the Savoy in London, right?
Oh,
So that would probably be our only city that maybe somebody like myself who was an extreme tea tourist might travel there for those experiences. But then I traveled to Toronto um, from my city by air just in February, just in order to attend the Toronto Tea Festival.
mm-hmm.
So that would be tea tourism as well. If
Right.
I traveled to Halifax to visit Phil's World Tea House and stayed overnight, that would also be tea tourism. I've also been going with some friends in New Brunswick where I live. A family in the country who has a barn they use for some events. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Maple Lane Barn. And every 2 weeks on a Sunday, they have been doing a tea, Saturday afternoon tea and a Sunday evening tea. So I've been going there with friends. It's in a barn. It's the grandmother, mother, and the grandchildren with all the old teacups. You can
That
pick your
sounds
own
very
teacup.
special.
Yeah, you can't touch it this year.
No, no. But that brings me, it reminds me that you have a great collection also of teaware, teacups, tea pottery. I don't know if you have any with you while you're traveling, but when you showed it to us, it was really impressive. How
Well,
did you
yeah.
start this collection?
Well, when I had a tea shop, we actually used to sell vintage china.
Okay.
During my travels, I collected a lot of teaware. For example, I have a traveling kit for the Chinese tea tradition. But a few years ago, I started to collect the vintage teacups again, the English bone china teacups, which are very beautiful. And about a month ago, I started to sell some on eBay. So that's another benefit of being retired. I have time to pursue this. But so when I have friends to my apartment for a tea tasting, and we might the last time we tasted black teas, so we did the black from Wazuka, but we also did the Darjeeling teas and a tea from Sikkim, Temi tea from Sikkim. I think it was an autumn flush. Then we use the teacups, right? We
Yeah.
use the teacups. So we brew a few different kinds of black tea, and we yes,
How did they
and it,
compare? That would be very interesting from three different regions.
well, that's interesting, Simona, because the black tea. Do you remember the black tea we got on from the farmer in Wazuka in a red? It
Yeah,
was in a red package.
right.
Um, I think in quality, it's very comparable to Darjeeling, to
So
maybe
I will
a
pass the
to a
comments to the
second
tea farmer.
to a
He'll be
second flush to a second flush Darjeeling, and that's that's one that people really loved. So
happy.
so that's one way we could introduce Canadians to Japanese tea, right? Would be through the black tea,
Okay,
and
that's
also the
good.
hojicha. Remember, you had the gentleman in Canada who's selling the
Yes,
hojicha
in
tea.
our last session, we had hojicha.co with Matthew. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
we
So
think,
yeah. So collecting the teacups is a lot of fun. Yes.
so I think when we can, it would be great if you could share some pictures. Of course, not today, but with our community. I think everyone will be really amazed by your
Oh,
collection.
okay. Sure. Sure. Okay. Oh, somebody says, how do you think tea with maple syrup? Oh, very good question. Tea with maple syrup instead of honey syrup. Definitely. Okay, because one of my favorite drinks now to drink at home is what we call a London fog.
Okay,
So I brew some Earl Grey tea, and then I foam the milk, and then I sweeten it with a little bit of maple syrup. And I actually grate a little bit of nutmeg on the top, right?
that sounds very nice.
Right. But the nutmeg I bought in Martinique because I've also done a lot of work in the Caribbean. So
So
definitely
special
maple.
ingredients.
Yeah, yeah, definitely maple syrup. But I also live in the region where maple syrup is produced, right?
Yes, definitely. I think Canada is the most famous of maple. That's the gift everyone gets when someone travels to Canada.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But it's only produced, Simona, in Eastern Canada. So, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So the area is a bit more narrow then. Let's see. We have a few more comments and some questions as well. So I'll just I guess we talked about Wakocha just before, so I'm going to just bring a comment from Eric, who is happy that you like Wakocha, Japanese black tea.
Mhm.
And actually, Eric has been writing about Wakocha for quite a while. He also contributed an article to us about Wakocha. So I'm also quite excited that popularity of Wakocha is growing, and he is saying that it has great gastronomical potential, which I think definitely this is a very interesting tea from many aspects. And if you say that
Mhm.
maybe it's easier for people from Canada and I think from other countries that are more used to black tea. Um, and let's see, we had a question from Karen. So Karen was asking about the status of tea tourism in Canada, and are there any projects related to the tea farm in Vancouver, if you may know?
Um, Karen, I actually don't know, but I can find out. I don't know if there are any tours to the tea farm in Canada, or if they have any tourism activities. But I will definitely try to find out for you.
Okay.
Um,
And just a few more comments. One, we are still coming back a little bit to the black tea. So Ian was saying that a tea farmer near him is making Darjeeling first flush, semi-oxidized black tea. So that is super interesting. I haven't tried this tea. Ian, if you could share more information about this tea, where to find it, I think many of us would be interested to taste it and to give it a try.
Definitely. And where is Ian based? Which country?
Ian, I
Yeah.
think Ian is in Japan, and he is also working with tea, so we actually know him quite well. We can connect you as well if you like.
Okay. Okay. And we also have some people. We also have some people in the audience here who are from Nepal, I think.
Um,
So
okay.
Nepal has a very fine tea. I haven't had a chance yet to visit. I went to a conference in Nepal, and I had to choose between going to Darjeeling and going inland to Nepal.
Oh,
And
that's a tough choice.
yeah, Darjeeling was more accessible to me because I could go on Dan Robertson's tea tour.
Mhm.
But I definitely Nepal is on the top of my list for return visit. I was supposed to go to Darjeeling in late February this year, right? And I had to cancel my ticket when
Yeah,
I
it
could
was
see,
just
you know,
about
I
to
couldn't
get
be there
hard.
at that.
Yeah, so actually, as you said, Lee, we haven't really talked much about the pandemic and what it is doing to tourism and especially tea tourism. I wonder if you see, what are the main challenges and what tea or how tea tourism could cope with that. Of course, we talked about the virtual style, the online style. I wonder if the academic community is talking more about this and noticing some other options for tea tourism.
Oh, that's a good question, Simona. Actually,
Maybe a hard.
the thing with the pandemic is that it has also affected the tea industry, right?
Yes, a
For
lot.
example, with the lockdown in Darjeeling of
Yeah,
tea estates, and certainly we're talking a lot in the tourism community about what's happening. I don't know how I can encapsulate it in a minute or two, but you know, if you think of tourism as a big global activity, and then you think of specialized like niche types of tourism, like we have wine tourism, beer tourism, you know, culinary tourism. A lot of people are traveling for cuisine. So tea is quite a small niche, but I think tea has always been about travel, right? we wouldn't have had the distribution of tea around the world and the traditions, because it's been about travel and migration. And I don't know if I'm really answering the question concisely, but I think maybe the thing is it's a time of reflection for us.
I think so.
We
Yeah,
might
time to
not,
talk.
we might, yeah, we might not be doing all these virtual things, and this is the same way that we're doing the Handbook of Tea Tourism, right?
Yes.
The other four professors that are with me on the Handbook of Tea Tourism all work at universities that are in tea regions. One from
Mhm.
Japan in Shizuoka, one from northern Thailand, one from Sri Lanka, and one from Taiwan.
So they are right in the middle of the
Yeah,
tea.
so I think maybe although there are many disadvantages from the current situation,
Mhm.
it might just be a time of reflection to see how we're going to move forward. Certainly, people are when we recover enough to travel. When travel is possible to Japan, I will be there.
I think there is a wave waiting to come. Like there are so many
Yeah,
people who want to, but cannot right now. And
yeah.
I would like to also show one more comment from Gundega posted a little bit earlier, actually, to what we just talked. Gundega was
Mm.
saying that they're from EU, and because of the flights which are cut at the moment to Asia, they noticed that there is bigger interest about traveling to local tea growers, which are available in Germany, in France, in Scotland. So when travels to Asia are that not that easy, not possible, then there are also some local growers in Europe, it seems as well.
Well, that's very good. And Gudenja, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name properly,
And
because we've
sorry.
because we've been in touch off and on through Facebook and Messenger, is also helping with that movement by her blog TT Me, which which she posts lots of opportunities for people. So this is I think the domestic and domestic tea tourism and people traveling to nearby countries um, is going to be one consequence of the pandemic. So if there are any academics listening, that could be one topic for a paper, right?
Right. It sounds like some small travel bubbles.
Well,
And
travel bubbles, yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yeah.
so maybe the title for the next book.
Well, or no, 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 no. It can be one. It can be one chapter in our book.
Right.
This
Okay.
is for me. This is my 10th book, because tea and tourism was the first. Then I did coffee and tourism, sugar heritage and tourism, which is very interesting. Spices and tourism, souvenirs and tourism, mining heritage, automobile heritage, and murals.
It's so wide. Of course, it
So,
includes tea, but so many other topics.
well, yes, but tea was the first. That was probably one of my favorite books, favorite books to do. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to the handbook of tea tours, and we're at the proposal stage. So we have a publisher who's interested, major publisher, and we're going to be sending a proposal to them. And then I think maybe in November we'll have a call for contributors, for
If
people
there's
to write.
anything our community can do, please let us know. We will be glad to share. I don't know if there will be many people who can write academically, but if there's any support you may need for the book or local contacts, maybe we can also help in that way
Well,
somehow.
it's meant to, Simona, it's meant to be academic practitioners. So we want practitioners as well to write very short chapters with case studies in the middle and with discussion questions at the end, and if they need to be edited, we will help, right?
Yes, that's amazing. Would anyone like to collaborate on this? If you are, please write in the comments. We will collect this and share with Lee. Yeah, so working
Well,
forward.
yes, and I'll give you my at the very end. I'll give you my contact. Oh, and there's another question: how tourism organizers can delight participants with online tea activities. Well, I think the Meet the Tea Farmer session that Simona's organization is hosting, and I was part of the last one. The very magical thing was that they sent us the tea ahead of time so that we could actually drink it while we talked to the tea farmer. The other thing I thought was very good was he used Google Maps to show us his tea farm,
We could see
and
very
he had some
visually where
wonderful.
it is and how it looks.
Well, yes, yes, and it just made me say that I wanted to be transported into that tea field, right? Um, yeah, so I think being creative. I mean, if you can use videos of if you can broadcast live from tea fields would be even better. And they did that recently in Simona. Maybe you can tell us about in Nagasaki.
Yeah, so recently, I don't know if anyone participated, but recently there was an online tour by Ikedaki Tea and Nagasaki, Higashi Sonagi. Lee, did you attend that one or
No,
you?
no, I missed that.
Yeah, so apparently that was very, very popular. In two sessions, I think around 100 people joined. So it seems people are curious and interested to learn. And what they did there, they also introduced a few tea farmers and introduced some of the tea made there. But I think what made it really special and really interesting is that they actually took the viewers around the tea farm. And you could see beautiful scenery with the tea fields, with the sea, and you could see also the tea factory where the tea is produced. So I think a lot of people, tea drinkers, the people outside of the tea regions, don't always know or cannot really imagine the processes tea go through or how it grows. So that was I thought very interesting. And Seni is agreeing. She says that it was great. So yeah, so maybe that's another way how the tea producers could go around and could introduce their activities.
I think another thing, Simona, would be being able to purchase more of the farmer's tea, maybe with a link, immediately after some of those virtual sessions, because sometimes it's so difficult for people in particularly in Western countries to obtain a tea where they actually met the farmer,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's why this is so special, and I'm going to be sad when
There
it's
is more.
almost
You don't need to worry, Lee.
yes, it's almost I can get more, but it's almost yeah, it's almost finished. So
So
yeah.
actually, now that you showed it again, maybe I can use a chance to just mention that we have been holding these events with IT farmers, introducing them, and like you Lee, were saying, sending the tea ahead of time. And next week, we have the tea farmer from Wazuka, Kenta-san, so the producer of the tea that Lee is now drinking. And so he will come to introduce two of his teas, Yokuro and Sencha, and we will have a session with him where everyone can basically talk and ask him questions and hear about how the farm is doing and what they are making and so on. So currently we are doing these about once a month, and yeah, hopefully more of you can join us and meet the farmers directly. And then Lee, what you mentioned, the question that once you meet the farmer, you immediately want to purchase the tea, or after you run out, you want to buy it again. And I think it's with some of the farmers, it's more easy if they are already set up and have an online shop and can do that more easily. but there are a lot of tea farmers that are basically focused on making the tea, and they haven't really spent that much time on thinking about how to sell it directly. So I think we have a bit more work to do there. And
Mhm.
actually, Ian, who messaged a little bit before, he has a lot of experience with working with different farmers across Japan through his online platform, introducing Japanese teas to the world, and tea crafts, and other Japanese items. So yeah, there are a few initiatives, but I think there's more work needed to introduce Japanese tea abroad and to make it more accessible as well. Let's see. So they are asking, we have Katsuya asking or commenting about what we talked earlier
Oh,
about
please
the
let
online tour and Higashi Samagi. Actually, Katsuya and everyone else who is listening, if you could just check the page called Ikedoki Tea. I will type it down. They just organized a pilot tour a few weeks ago, and they're planning to hold another one soon. So I think they will share more information there if you are interested to join it. Yeah. All right. So
you know.
today chat has been very active. We can barely keep up with the comments.
You know, there's a very interesting anecdote about that new tea project you just mentioned, because
Okay.
Matsu from Obubu Tea, he actually learned they were doing tea tourism there from Moe and I.
Oh
When we
wow.
actually went, when we went to when we interviewed Matsu for our book chapter that we mentioned before on the Japanese tea
Mhm.
villages, and we actually had 3 case studies. And one of our case studies was from that small area in Nagasaki. So that was
Wow. How did
Matsu
you
learned
find
about it, and now he's gone to help them, right?
them? Yes, now they're very active, but how did you know about it, Lee? How did you come across that small region in Nagasaki?
Um, well, I internet really. I think that either Moe or I found it through the internet. We had one other small case study in Shizuoka, I think, where there's a very small village where they were hosting a tea like once a month, where you could go and you pay an admission and you could go and drink tea in different people's houses, right?
Hmm.
That was another,
In Shizuoka, you said.
yes, I'd
Oh,
have to look it up again. I'd have to look back at it was a very small remote village. So it was mainly for the domestic market, right?
so yeah, I
Mm.
have also heard of a few initiatives in Shizuoka that are also developing the tea tourism, making it more accessible to foreign visitors, even offering activities in English that I think are still quite rare. And hopefully there will be more of these activities and more people can visit.
Okay, well,
Let's
there's
see.
also the my colleague, the professor in Shizuoka, who focuses on tea tourism, and his colleague in Thailand. They've also been running some projects the last few years where they brought tea farmers from Thailand to Japan to learn, and vice versa.
Mhm.
Then they took tea farmers to Thailand to learn and exchange knowledge. Um,
That's
and
amazing.
that's one thing we perhaps haven't focused on as much is the potential for tea tourism to help tea communities to get more, now that we have an aging population of tea farmers, to get younger people interested in farming tea and supporting tea industries.
Yeah, and now that you mention, actually, and our courses and the master course, we also had a few people from other regions related to tea production and tea farming. who wanted to come and learn of Japanese ways and possibly apply them in those regions as well. So I think there's that interest too to learn from each other. And if we hear more about the program, if your colleagues in Shizuoka and in Thailand, if they are running these projects again, we would be glad to be involved and to suggest to our tea farmer network as well.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Right. So if I'm just checking again for the questions or
Any other?
comments. So
Yeah.
actually, we have just a couple of minutes left. If anyone has any more questions or comments they would like to make, just please use the chat and we will share them and we'll comment together with Lee. And in the meanwhile, I think Lee would be great if you could share how to stay connected with you if people have more questions or about all the things we discussed today related to tourism or the books you have published or working on or your amazing teaware collection. So
Oh,
how
thank
can
you.
we reach you?
Thank you. Okay, well, you can connect me by well, first of all, email. It's the reverse of my name, so jolliffe.lee@gmail.com. That would be one way. The other way would be through Facebook and Messenger. And I'm already connected with some of you that are on the chat there. But if anybody else wants to send me an invitation for Facebook. And actually, that's where I post about some of my tea experiences, right?
Yes, we always
Locally in
beautiful pictures
Canada
with the flowers and teaware.
and internationally, yes, yes. In the summer, I buy some beautiful fresh flowers at a market, and I post that every week. But also with some tea.
Uh,
Oh yes, now notice Ian Chun,
yes,
immersive reality technology. Yes. Do you know there is a professor in Kyoto who is Eric Harkinson. I can connect him with Ian, who's using augmented reality
okay.
to teach tourism to students. So, and it's quite advanced in that.
Yeah, so
Okay, and
actually on
somebody,
this topic, just next month, our association is collaborating and trying to hold an event with virtual reality. So in the small town Mozuka in Kyoto, we are going to have an event where people can experience, first of all, the technology. So what virtual reality is and what are the possibilities. And as part of that event, we are planning to demonstrate a video made in town so that town people could see their own town through different eyes, through different experience, through virtual reality. So it's a little bit of an experiment for now, but again, we agree with Ian that maybe that could be another way or a different way to experience tea, not just in flat screen, but also in being immersed in a virtual space, in a virtual experience. So
oh,
let's
it
see.
looks like Ian has got lots of good advice there. So, Ian, I'm going to connect you with Eric in Kyoto as well.
So I
Okay, great. If we could buy as we explore, that would be wonderful, right? Um,
yeah, so I'm just going to show last few comments we had from Katsuya and also and Ian. So Ian was still commenting on the technology side of tea. That technology isn't nearly ready yet, but it
mm.
could do it. And using augmented reality glasses. So definitely that's a very interesting area and we want to try it as well. And using that to connect with the e-commerce where you can directly purchase after the experience. I think that's also very interesting way to apply this new technology. And lastly, we had a comment from Katsia, who was mentioning about another organization organizing activities around tea, so World Green Tea Association. So if anyone is interested, please have a look
Mm.
in the comments. And just now finishing with this, also we would like to first of all thank Lee for joining us today and spending this whole hour. The time really flew by, and we had so much to talk about and so many comments, so many interesting topics that the viewers brought up. So really, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
And thank you everyone for listening. So just to finish off, I would like to say that we organize these kind of activities, virtual activities now nearly every week in different formats. Sometimes live through Facebook, sometimes meeting tea farmers and virtual space created by Zoom, and public events and also more private events for our members. So again, if you're interested in Japanese tea, our aim is to share more of it with you and with everyone around, and try to connect us with one another and to learn from one another. So we have created the space where we can connect through the membership program. And if you're interested, please definitely have a look. I think we already had a lot of members joining us today,
Mm.
but
Yes.
if someone hasn't registered yet, please have a look. And more recent activities are again on the education side. So we used to hold master courses that also Lee joined us, and a couple of others here also joined. But this year, unfortunately, we couldn't hold because of the situation. So actually, our courses are turning online. And from October, we are starting our first online Japanese Tea Foundation course, and planning to hold them on about a monthly basis. So we will be opening new slots for November and later months. So please have a look as well if you're interested. And I think that's all.
I would really, Simona, if I could add something, I would really encourage people to join and to become a tea fellow. Because even though I had graduated from the Japanese tea master course, I didn't have the confidence to use my teaware at home, right? And until I joined as a tea fellow and we started meeting, pretty well monthly, sometimes every few weeks. A few of us started meeting online. So that's really a wonderful opportunity. It's really enriched my life and it got me through some of the pandemic, right? But thank you,
Okay,
Simona.
in the
Thanks
mood
very
with
much.
you. Thank you so much, Lee. It was really, really good to chat with you. I'm sure we will see you in a few weeks in some shape or form. And for everyone else, thank you for listening, and let's keep in touch. Please get in touch, and let's keep this connection. All right.
Okay.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.